Hi, everyone. I'm John. I'm your host for today on Route to Scale, a short podcast featuring the founders and operators building the future of e commerce, fulfillment, and modern delivery. In this segment, we're going to be focusing on Africa. And today, I'm honored to have Harold on this call with me from NightMarket. NightMarket is Ghana's premier AI powered digital ecosystem, empowering local vendors to grow, enable reliable on demand delivery with economic opportunities for riders, and providing customers with a seamless and engaging food ordering experience through interactive video commerce. I'm so excited to welcome Harold. Harold, thank you so much for coming on this podcast with us today.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So Harold, I just have to ask you, you're in this incredibly awesome but also competitive space in food delivery. What led you to start Night Market? What's your story?
Well, so I think we kind of had the idea for Night Markets right after the COVID pandemic hit. I think we're transitioning as a country from COVID. So I think post COVID we realized that the food delivery space in Ghana was literally like sort of like growing. More people were like getting accustomed with ordering food online vis-a-vis the pandemic when people were not really into food delivery or didn't know what food delivery was. But you had to understand that local food businesses were offline still. Food delivery was growing, but local food businesses were offline. The existing platforms at the time focused more on high-end restaurants, the KFCs and all these chains. But
Right.
for an average Ghanaian, when you're not cooking, you probably want to order food from the vendor across the street. And most of these merchants were sort of like offline. And so we saw the opportunity there, and then we realized, hey, we could bring these merchants online. And then that would literally mean that people in the communities closer to them would be able to order from them. And that was sort of where the idea came about. We wanted to focus on the local businesses that were underlooked compared to the high-end restaurants.
Wow. Wow. That's so awesome. So I just want to, clarify because we know, like as we mentioned, this food delivery space is incredibly, can be a little bit competitive, right? In Ghana specifically, I know there's quite a few competitors, like Glovo and Bolt Food, for example, as two kind of food delivery companies. So how do you differentiate yourself, by working with these offline, more, kind of underserved food vendors?
So one interesting fact is that
Mm,
statistically, local food businesses make up about 80% of um, food orders from customers when they're not ordering, like when they're not making food at home and they want to eat
yeah.
food outside. 80% of the time, they want to buy food from local businesses. So there's like a huge market out there. But you have to understand the reason why they do. You notice that culturally, local food businesses give you the option to flex your meal or to customize your option to fit your budget. So
Mm,
regardless of how much you have, could be $1, $5, whatever, you can actually get a meal from a local business. But when you walk into a restaurant, the pricing is fixed. You'd probably see a meal for $6 or $5. Take it or leave it if you can afford it. But then for a local business, you get to like customize it, suit your budget. And that's what makes these people stand out, right? But most of the existing platforms at the time built for restaurants, or let me just say the fixed pricing system where the prices are fixed. And then the local business operates a different system, which is the flexible pricing. So these are two different systems, right? For Ghana, the flexible pricing system is more dominant because there are a lot of local businesses
mm,
compared to restaurants. And outside in the Western world, the fixed pricing system is more dominant because there are a lot of chains and restaurants. So I think you, as a platform entering into this kind of space, you want to first of all understand how the local culture is like. And I think that's what existing platforms did not do. They didn't really kind of get the concept into what really works here. So we saw it and said, okay, hey, if we could build for these people, if we could mimic how these customers buy from these merchants in person, right? When you walk into the shop, how you make how you interact with the customer, how you make the purchase in person. If you could build that same experience, bring it onto a platform, then we're unlocking food delivery opportunity for the 80% of Ghanaians who can afford, the expensive restaurants. So that is what sets us apart from the competition, is the fact that on our platform, you get to order a meal and the pricing is so affordable compared to the next competition.
wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. I read online that another very interesting part about your business model and your logistics operation is you somehow managed to include lots of students to be involved in this logistical models. Can you help me? Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I would glad to tell you more about that. I think for us as a company, our go-to-market strategy was different. It's two
Mm,
things. Are you just going to expand into the city centers But in this same city centers, you have the likes of both Glovo all competing two to two for customer acquisition. Are we going to
Right.
just do the same thing, or are we going to really change our go-to-market structure such that we target, a certain demographic that is like overlooked? And to sort of give more context into this, the reason or the number of the section of our community that order a lot from local food businesses are students, young working professionals, and the reason being that they are budget conscious, right? That's why you go for the most affordable option in the market. You're budget conscious. You do not have the pricing power like somebody working in like a C-suite company, right? Who can probably afford a restaurant. So we just had to understand the demography of who we're serving, and we came to realize, okay, yes, students are an interesting market. They don't have enough time to cook every day because they go into classes, and young working professionals also. So then, if that's the case, our go-to-market strategy is going to be centered around campus communities. So when we launched in the beginning, we focused on campus communities. We did the University of Ghana, which was great, and just by doing so, we understood that it was easy to build the logistics infrastructure in these areas because the community is very dense. You have a lot of people in that community, lots of students, and if you could create a program that could enable these same students deliver food to their colleagues, then we can build a circular economy in this market. And I think that is how we thought about the whole students program called the Ride and End program.
Wow, that's so amazing. That's so unique. That definitely stands out into something. We've been doing logistics stuff for so many years. That's really, really awesome. That's really, really different. Well, we all know logistics and operations. There's always haggles in the road, right? Always issues going on, right? So tell me, give our audience a bit of flavor, right, into understanding in your world, right? What makes food delivery, in Ghana, working with these local operators, what makes it operationally difficult, and how do you go about to solve some of those issues?
That's a very good question. I think first of all, you have to understand that our mapping system, our routing system, it's a bit not so much developed. Like today, you still see customers.
Yeah.
You still see customers having to call riders to give them directions to their house or a landmark.
Right.
That's them. And these sort of poses a challenge because I'm thinking that as a rider, you want the liberty to be able to like go and deliver without having to handle the whole communications and everything. As a customer, you want the option to be able to order your food and not worry about having to give the rider extra addresses to your house and stuff like that. So I think the bottleneck currently might probably be like a proper sort of like mapping routing infrastructure. Aside that, I could also say that in order for you to be able to when you work with a platform, you want to have a smartphone, and not lots of people do have like smartphones now. Even though like it's the adoption is going up, there's still a lot of people who the barrier to entry to owning a smartphone is not there. So that also is one challenge. But I think the major part of
actually, how do you serve those customers then who might not have a cell phone? Do you have like a call-in type? I don't know. How do you solve that? That's so interesting.
So for customers who do not have a cell phone, we have a web platform where you can like directly place an order from a web platform. For riders who do not have a cell phone to operate with us, we work with partners who provide them with like cell phones to be able to like operate with the NightMarket app.
Okay. So that's so interesting. So you tell me a bit about your logistics, right? Because this already sounds so awesome, and I don't know how you dealt with all of that. So tell me, I'm so excited. Like, you have your students who are working with you. Are they directly working with you, or are you working through a third party to work with your students, or you just have like students that's under your in-house? You have your own in-house writers. How do you manage all this craziness?
No, I like that crazy. So we work with a third party. I'll give you a little bit insight into how we even came up about the whole students program for logistics.
Absolutely.
We noticed that through operations in campus communities, we noticed a lot of students reach out to us and having to be part of us in terms of riding. We kind of overlooked it because we just felt like it was something that was going to take a lot of time to structure, because you have to understand that students are not going to be full time. They are going to lectures, they are going to class, and how to build a proper structure around logistics for these like students to work was quite difficult. To add to this, the resources, which is the bicycle, the electric vehicle that is needed for them, because most of these students do not own bicycles, they don't own electric vehicles. You had to find a way to provide to them, and that was also one of the barriers, because we were not really into that whole system of building our own in-house logistics at the time. However, the turning point for us was when a particular student came to us and said he was financially handicapped. He did not have a place to live on campus. He was struggling. Just to give you
Wow.
summary, he was struggling, and he wanted a way to make a living to support his stay on campus, and that really touched us. And we said, okay, let's provide this guy a bicycle, and let's see what he can do.
Wow.
And in about a week, I think in about a week he made in about a week he made about 130 like to 150 dollars, and in a month he had made about like $600. He was able to get a space to to live, right? He was able to
Oh
rent a
my
space.
goodness.
And I think that really touched us. And we said, hey, there's a lot of people like this on campuses that need, a way to make a living, because students, if you should understand that students here do not have that system of temporal work where you can like work
Right.
with any opinion like any living while on campus. That doesn't exist here. So we had to find a way to build something like that. And we realized, okay, if this worked for this guy, why not we make it open? Like, why not we open up for other students as well to like join us and like have the same impact? And so we partnered with Alden Cycles. Alden Cycles was a cycling company on campus. They had this model where it was like a rent to ride. And then we partnered with them and said, hey, we're thinking about this. We want to build a program that enables students to, work with the night market. You guys have the bicycles. We want to partner with you, deploy bicycles around campuses so that any student who is on our program who needs to, fulfill orders on behalf of the night market can just pick up a bicycle and just like make a living. And that's how come we run the Ride and Earn program.
Wow, wow, that's awesome. I just have to ask this, because as we all know, in every single business in logistic or anything of this sort, trust, reliability, and customer expectations are always key, right?
Mhm.
Tell me a bit about, how you've learned to build that for NightMarket.
Honestly speaking, trust is very pivotal.
Right.
It's also the challenge with food delivery, especially in this market, is that sometimes people order meals and then what comes is different from what they ordered, or there's a missing item. It's a very, very, very big challenge. It's something
Hmm.
that it's not 100%. If you deliver about 1,000 meals in a day, there's always a likelihood that there's one or two others that have the certain mishaps like this. Um,
Right.
Another issue with trust is if you're telling me the food is going to come in an hour, telling me the food is going to come in 30 minutes and it doesn't come in 30 minutes, that's sort of like trust is broken. Some customers would complain, some will not take it lightly. I think how we try to do this is, first of all, constant communication. I think you need to make sure that you have a very good way for customers to talk to you and reach out to you. Not a chatbot, not an AI, but I think it's key to have structures. But then again, you need to have that whole personal touch to it. Customers should be able to reach out to you, should be able to hear someone's voice and hear someone tell them, hey, I understand that your food is delayed, but this is what happened. The rider is here, or this is the reason why. And I think for us, how we sort of like build trust around customers is by letting them know that, look, we are close to you, we're here,
Mm.
we are away, we're a text away. And so I think our customer service team has really been very strong in helping us to like win the trust from our customers.
Wow, wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. I just want to double back down again when you mentioned about how one of the operationally challenging things is making sure that your riders can reach there on time, as well as then find the locations of different places, right? So, what role do you see routing, mapping, and location accuracy actually playing in making deliveries work better?
I think mapping, location accuracy, these are the fundamentals for food delivery. Like this sits at this is the sense of what makes food delivery work. Because customers want a way to be able to get their food. Riders want the ease of having to deliver and find the right routes possible to make sure the food gets to the customer. Vendors do not want to tell the rider where my location is. You should be able to find my location and like come and pick up the meal. So this is like the fundamental to having a successful food delivery system. It's quite unfortunate over here in the side of our country or the side of the world. You do not have proper structures with regards to like mapping. And so today customers will still have to call riders and tell them like the closest landmark, right? And
Mm.
this eats into the delivery time. You have riders who do not want to play the part of customer service, having to call the customers and say, I'm here, I'm there. But bottom line is, as a company, we're not looking now at delivering from point A to B. We are looking at how do we get to point B efficiently, effectively, and that is like where we see mapping and location accuracy now.
Understand. Yeah, all right. Just the last final questions, just so that our audience can get some, last juices out. What does the next stage of growth look like for Night Market? Where do you guys see yourselves in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think we over the years of operations, we've come to really understand who our primary customers are. And I know this might sound a bit um, debatable, but most platforms define product market fit as I start with food delivery, probably deliver groceries. I build a Q-commerce system integrated into my food delivery platform. So then the product market fit journey is that I'm going to deliver food and then I'm going to deliver everything, right? So these platforms will define their primary customers as the users of the platform. Over here at Night Market, we tend to differ. Our primary customers is our merchants, right?
Hmm.
The user is the second customer, the secondary customer. The merchant is our primary
Wow.
customer. And why am I saying this? If the user's loyalty lies with the merchant, not the platform. If the merchant leaves your platform today, the user is going to find or locate the merchant on a different platform. That's how it works because their allegiance lies with the merchant. So if you're able to make your merchant the primary customer, and then you're able to build an ecosystem around the merchant, what happens is that the merchant stays. And when the merchant stays, the customer stays, right? So where we see ourselves in 3 to 5 years is how do we give our merchants more value outside of food delivery? How can we allow them to have access to revenue financing? How can they be able to get loans to grow their businesses? How can we connect them to suppliers? How can we make sure that they can save the monies they're making from food delivery and invest into other things? So basically, where we are seeing ourselves is just like evolving from food delivery into like a whole ecosystem, or let's say we're building an operating system for our local food businesses.
Wow. Wow. Food operating system for local business. That's awesome. We just have one last question. Time flies when you're having fun. So, we really want to bring all this awesome information to all the folks trying to build amazing e-commerce and logistically difficult and complex businesses, right? What
Mhm.
advice would you give to other operators trying to build successful last mile businesses in Africa?
Well, I think the advice I'd give is I think don't don't confuse growth with progress. This is a very margin sensitive business or sector. I think the first thing you should really be focusing on is how you build a strong unit economics. That is like really key for operating in this space. And it needs to start from day one. You need to be able to map out how you make money, and you need to be very clear on that. So I think you need to make sure that your unit economics is at the center of your business, and then you scale with trust. You don't just scale until you have been able to win the trust of your customers, and that is when you decide to scale. You don't just. That's why I use the term. Don't confuse growth with progress. So that's my advice.
Oh, brother, that is amazing advice. I think everyone's gonna love that. Do not confuse growth with progress. Yes, thank you so much, Harold, really for your time. Everyone, this is Route to Scale, our podcast. This is Harold over here from Night Market. Thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate it, and we look forward to catching you on the next one. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to John. Have a nice day.